So, what the fuck happened? Well, I had shared a big part of what was going on, but I had left out the detail that I have been dealing with for like 6 months, stress wise. And that was I had a 50 I had a 50-50 chance of becoming homeless. I would need emergency government housing so that I wouldn't end up on the streets. It was really fucking serious. And yeah, uh, it just all became too much. And even though they really wanted to do the creative stuff, everything just kind of shut down. I haven't done any painting, any sculpting. I haven't done any model building, nor have I done any of this stuff. And I had one video where I was like, well, I got one video left pre-recorded. I couldn't even deal with that. Everything was just so stressful. Well, I finally got an answer. Today's Tuesday or Wednesday. I got an answer on Sunday that confirmed no matter how things went, I was going to have a roof over my head. Which is exactly what I've needed to know for 6 months. So, yeah, that aspect is finally done. I got approved yesterday to be on Ontario disability. And my ex confirmed, yeah, we can work it in the budget, that if the disability doesn't work out, we got you covered for how much you need. So that all worked. Finally, it all worked. And so now there's been such a stress release in that I actually haven't cried in the last couple of days. I spent most of my time the last 6 months crying, especially at nighttime. Just emotions were too much, and crying in my sleep and everything. I don't think what I'm sharing is TMI. A lot of people are going through this with the crisis of living in the US and in Canada and in other countries. You know, that I do think it is important for those who are willing to share just the emotions that you can go through from a day-to-day basis. And like, what are you going to do? How do you deal with this? How do you get through it? Like, I think a zombie stepped on a landmine. There was an explosion in the background. Anyway, like how to go through with this and stuff, and what do you do? How do you survive? And I haven't even gotten into the food thing and stuff, and dealing with other life stressors in detail. Because, well, not everything needs to be shared, but this. I think it's important to understand. Like, I was doing the research, I was figuring out who I had to call, figuring out when I should call, and what I needed to say to try and get the help I needed, and all of this kind of stuff, and try to have a plan. Like, what could I take with me, and what did I have to abandon, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it happens. And I think it happens to a lot more people than what we realize in our personal lives, just how tough it is. So that's what I've been dealing with. I'm hoping that that one big stressor is now gone, will allow me to do some creative stuff and be able to share that creative outlet to all of you here. Fingers crossed, really. Oh, and getting approved for the Ontario disability doesn't mean, hey, I got it, everything's done, everything's peachy. No. The door is open. I've been permitted to step through, and then they will just hand you a fuck ton of paperwork, and that you have to make sure everything is in order. And so it's just like, well, now here's the red tape aspect of being disabled and getting assistance. Yeah. So there'll be a different kind of stress in dealing with that, but hopefully that won't impact things too much, if at all. Fingers crossed and all that kind of shit. Okay. I wanted to explain that. I want to get this video up. I think it's Wednesday. Let me check. I actually got a new phone that works unbelievably. Well, I don't quite know how it works. Sometimes a service will say, oh, you've been with us for so long. Here, you are eligible for a free phone. Of course, they give you bottom of the barrel, but it was free. So I'm going with that. Oh, it works better than my old BlackBerry. I can actually look up shit on the internet. Seriously, I can play videos. That's how bad my old phone was. Yeah, if you're unfamiliar, BlackBerry was just on the decline. Some other company purchased BlackBerry, and they kept it going for a little while, but then they said, we're not updating anything anymore. This was before 5G was flipped on. And 5G was eventually flipped on, and I somehow got it to work, and it stayed until most of the back end of the internet was changed and updated and things like that. It just happens over time. And the operating system was no longer being updated for BlackBerry, so it just ceased to function, pretty much. I could make phone calls and I could do texts, and that was it. Sometimes. Seriously. That's how bad it was. Anyway, that's a bit of a ramble, kind of a fun, light story there to finish it off. I guess it is good news of this video that, no, I will not be homeless. Now it's trying to get everything else on track and get stuff done and make sure that, as I like to say, because I do have a learning disability, make sure all the I's are crossed and the T's are dotted. Gotta make sure all that's done. Alright. Thank you for your time, and hopefully I'll see you in some new videos very, very, very soon. Fingers crossed. Maybe even tomorrow. Who knows? Be safe, everyone.